So we are continuing with the purport. It may be argued that all householders are not very rich, and that one cannot receive great saintly persons or preachers, because they are always accompanied by their disciples. If a householder is to receive a saintly person, he has to receive his entourage also. It is said in the Shastras that Durvasa Muni was always accompanied by 60,000 of his disciples. 60,000 disciples. And if there was a little discrepancy in their reception, he would be very angry and would sometimes curse the host. The fact is that every householder, regardless of his position or economic condition, can at least receive saintly guests with great devotion and offer them drinking water. For drinking water is available always. So you need like 30,000 liters of water. In India, the custom is that even an ordinary person is offered a glass of water if he suddenly visits and one cannot offer him foodstuff. If there is no water, then one can offer a sitting place, even if it is on straw mats. And if he has no straw mat, he can immediately cleanse the ground and ask the guest to sit there. Supposing that the householder cannot even do that, then with folded hands he can simply receive the guest saying welcome. And if he cannot do that, then he should feel very sorry for his poor condition and shed tears and simply offer obeisances with his whole family, wife and children. In this way he can satisfy any guest, even if he is a saintly person or a king. Adana apite danyaha sadavo griha medinaha yad griha hyarha varyambu trina bhumishvara varaha. A person who is not very rich and is attached to family life becomes highly glorified when saintly persons are present in his home. Everyone, including master and servants who are engaged in offering the exalted visitors water, sitting place, paraphernalia for reception, and the home itself, are also glorified. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was asking Narada Muni how somebody who is a Griha Medi can actually attain liberation. And Narada Muni gave him two main things. One was to perform yagya, and another is to associate with saintly persons. And how do we associate with saintly persons? We associate with saintly persons by hearing from them, by offering them respect, by hearing from them, and also by serving them, by serving their needs, serving them as a menial servant, and also, ideally, serving their mission. So, here is one of those verses which give hope to everyone. And it doesn't matter what is your material position, you can do some service, and you can offer respect to the Lord and His representatives. So here is described a Griha Medi who actually is very poor, has no opulence, has no material means, but in a simple way he can receive saintly persons. And here, of course, King Prithu is a king, so he has a lot of riches, and he was able to receive Kumaras in a more opulent way. But even if that is not possible, one can receive a saintly person, as it is described here, by offering a simple straw mat or glass of water, and there is alternatives. If he cannot do this, he can do that. And if nothing, he can offer obeisances with his family. Sometimes when devotees bring their small children to the temple, then they teach them how to offer obeisances, and they push them a little bit so they offer obeisances. Because children, they don't know they should offer obeisances. But then, because everybody is offering obeisances, they are imitating, and they also offer obeisances. And this looks very cute. So here, in this verse, there is so many key words from the Shastra, like Griha Medina, persons who are attached to family life. Who is the person attached to family life? We. We are attached to family life. Maybe even worse than being attached to family life is being attached to be a playboy. That means, enjoying. That means enjoying the association of the opposite sex without responsibility. So I call this brahmachari playboy. He likes to associate with ladies, but he doesn't want to take responsibility for one lady and, exhibit all the qualities of a husband, like affection, patience, tolerance. Of course, it's not only that husband has to exhibit these qualities, the wife also has to exhibit these qualities. And so in many places in the scriptures there is discussion, how can Grihamedi be delivered? Grihamedi can be delivered by becoming a Grihasta, becoming a Krishna-conscious householder. And Srila Prabhupada has given already in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's 13, 8 to 12, chapter 13, text 8 to 12, they are all together, 5 verses, and he says how one can make Krishna-conscious family life. He can, morning and evening, he can chant with his family, discuss scriptures, offer prasadam, and also, if possible, also worship the deity. Now, householders maybe cannot do it in the morning, they go to work maybe very early, but at least they can do once a day in the evening. So householder has to perform yagya, dana, and also tapa. And family life is so difficult because, before you have children, then we can say marriage is difficult because husband and wife need to cooperate, they need to agree. And because this is the age of quarrel, people fight even over the small things. So nowadays it has become a great challenge to stay in marriage and not divorce. And those who don't divorce, they are actually great heroes. Because to remain in marriage, it's very difficult. Because you have to be very tolerant and patient. It's more easy to be single. It's more easy to be single because you only have to fight with your mind. But if you have a wife, you have to fight with your mind and with your wife or with your wife's mind. Or if you're a wife, you have to fight with your mind and with your husband's mind. And then we try to encourage devotees to love each other, to support each other, to give compliments to each other, to give sweet words, and to have a dinner with candles. Okay? Now this is Maya. This is Maya, this is too much, to have a dinner with candles. So, I was in Hungary, and there, Shivara Maharaj, he is very strict. So I was preaching to devotees. There is a lot of grihastas. They have beautiful temple. They also have, but they have Doyal Nitai Vijay Gauranga, not Vijay Gauranga Doyal Nitai. So they have the same name of the deities. And I was preaching to them to have a dinner with candles. But this is actually only a metaphor. What I'm trying to say is be nice to your wife or be nice to your husband. And life is short, so why should we make it more difficult for each other when we can make it more easy for each other? We can make life easier for each other. But people always find a reason to fight. And some even enjoy fighting. It sends gratification to quarrel also. So, but Prabhupada has given so many instructions, and some devotees have compiled his quotes on family life. And if you want to be successful grihastha, you have everything in one place. But what is the problem with these quotes and these compilations is nobody's reading them. So people don't know how to be a happy grihastha or successful grihastha. But Shastra is so powerful. If we follow Shastra, we can do miracles. Miracles happen. And when I was in Spain, in Malaga, I think, I was half jokingly, I was telling grihasthas, you should give 12 hugs a day to your wife. Or 12 hugs, or 12 compliments. And they started doing 6 or 3. And one devotee told me, for 20 years I'm fighting with my wife, and now we started doing jokingly what you told us, and our relationship has improved so much. Because we are having a nice vibration between each other. I'm jokingly telling my wife, oh, the best of wives, or the best of cooks, or the best of mothers. And she really jokingly likes it. And our relationship is improving, and we go out and we chant together and, watch the sunset together, holding our hands. I don't know how you can hold hands and chant. Is it possible? And chanting like this. Watching the sunset and having a nice spiritual practice and also a nice relationship. So it's not breaking the principles, but it's being good, nice to each other. So, but devotees think that renunciation means to be cold to your wife. This is not renunciation. Renunciation to be affectionate to your wife without lust. So sometimes spiritual life is like walking on wire. You can, sleep at any point. You try to be nice, but you can also get this crazy idea that you should enjoy your senses. So one should be very careful. Therefore, one should not trust the mind. Never trust the mind. It's like a snake. In the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, it's like a snake. The mind is like a snake. Snake looks peaceful, but if you touch it, bites you. So similarly, the mind, if you let the mind go a little bit off, he is ready to degrade you. Avaranatmika Shakti, Prakshipatmika Shakti. Maya is waiting to cover you over and drag you down. And this is happening through the mind. This is happening through the mind. So for a grihastha, is very important that they should control their mind. And that's very difficult. Imagine you have a huge feast in front of you, like 15 preparations for Gaur Purnima, and you have to say, thank you, I will drink a cup of water. So, you have a beautiful wife, beautiful husband, and there is this dream of sex life, and then you have to do it only for procreation of children. So this is more difficult than being alone in the Himalayas and fighting with lions and tigers and snakes. This is more difficult. We think that hard things are difficult, but no. Actually, what is more difficult is pleasant things. This is a greater challenge. Is when something is pleasurable, then we fall in Maya. When something is hard, we are at least praying to God, please help me. But if something is pleasurable, we don't pray, we just dive into it, head first. So, one has to be very, yes, thank you. One has to be very, very cautious, very careful. One has to be, you understand. And we have this verse, Param Padam Yad Vipadam Nateshan, there's a danger at every step. And then usually what we think about this verse is that there is danger of death, danger of suffering, but actually greater danger is danger of sinful enjoyment. That's a great danger. There is a danger at every step. Param padam, yad vipadam natesham. So it is said, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Prabhupada would quote some other quotes which are not from the Vedas, something from the common sense or from the ordinary people, or like people's wisdom. And fools rush in where the angels fear to step. So when a foolish person sees an object of enjoyment, he says, Jai! I'm going to do it. I'm going to enjoy it. But when a wise person sees an object of enjoyment, he becomes very cautious. Like yesterday we spoke about the turtle. When the turtle faces danger, immediately it brings in its limbs. So similarly, a devotee, when he encounters a sense object, he is very cautious, very careful. He is, very, very, very attentive not to do sinful activity. So in family life, a husband should see wife as a dear servant of God, and wife should see her husband as a dear servant of God, as a child of God, and as an object of service, not object of enjoyment. And that's very hard. Then it is said that husband or wife should be the object of our compassion, not our passion. The object of our compassion, not our passion. So one should always preach to himself or to his mind that this beautiful person in front of me is not meant for my enjoyment, it meant for Lord's enjoyment. And that's very hard. But we have to practice and get better at this. So it is said, Yan maitunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham. This temporary happiness is very attractive to a materialistic householder, and his main goal is to enjoy his tongue, his belly, and his genitals. And in this way, he is ensuring that his next life will be degraded and will be lower. So, although there is some concession for enjoyment in family life, it's mainly meant for austerity. It's mainly meant for tapasya. And one great tapasya in family life is to tolerate each other's imperfections. Not give up. So I give you a motto for family life: be ready for anything and never give up.
Be ready for everything and never give up. Sei bereit für alles, aber gib niemals auf.
So first of all, if you are ready for anything, you don't get shocked if something happens. For example, if your wife tells you you're an ass, you don't get shocked. You say, you are right. You're right, but I want to improve. I want to become a hamsa, or a swan. I want to become a different animal. I can still remain an animal because you see me as an animal. Yeah, I am very degraded. So your wife is the one who knows all your weaknesses. And she can list them very precisely. And then, so how can you react when your wife tells you you're an ass? What can you do? How can you react? You can say, my dear wife, what has inspired you to give this exquisite analysis of my character? This very, very, very precise analysis of my character. And thank you. I think that God is talking through you. You are now becoming a mouth of God. Because I'm so attached to you and to sense gratification that you can give me, that you are completely right. And if I'm an ass is married, how do you call his wife? So, no, don't say this, because you may get in more trouble. So, I mean, you have heard about domestic violence. When we say domestic violence, we usually think that husband is beating his wife and children. But actually there is a situation where wife is beating her husband also. I have seen this. Once I got hit by my wife, but she was right. I mean, she's a wonderful devotee, but because I was always delaying our talking, because we are always busy with service. So she wants to talk to me, and we're always delaying. And once, when I was delayed too much, then she hit me once. She didn't hit me on my head, she hit me on my hand. But it was a hard hit. I mean, also I got some blood. Maybe with the nail, she hit me a little bit with the nail. And I will not tell her name, because then you cannot, curse her or something. But she was a wonderful Sankirtan devotee and a pujari. And she was right, because I was just not a good husband. So there are so many things happening, and how can you, when you go through family life and you don't give up, then when you become a sannyasi, you will be 108% ready and convinced, convinced that I don't want this anymore. Sometimes, sannyasis, they speak about how to be a good husband. And I'm wondering, if he would be a husband, would he also be able to do this, what he's preaching? Maybe he did it in past life, so now, he can speak from Brahma Samhita or whatever. No Brahma Samhita, from Manu Samhita, about the ideal family life, or from Prabhupada's books. But actually it's very hard. It's very hard. Why? Because the ego is tested so much. The false ego is tested more in family life than in the Himalayas, when you are alone with the tigers or with the snakes. So Shastra says that the words of a close relative pierce deeper than any arrow can pierce you. And therefore one should be careful how one talks to his family members and not to hurt them, because they never forget it. They can even try to commit suicide because they were hurt. And children sometimes try to get attention by negative behavior. They do tantrums, they do different things. And we think, my child is crazy, my child needs pills. But actually, they're trying to get attention from the parents, because they don't get it in a good way, so they try to get attention in the bad way. So they're screaming or doing all kinds of nonsense, drinking alcohol. And parents, they give some attention, but children needs like 3 times or 5 times more attention, and they don't get it, and then they become very nasty, and they want to get attention by negative behavior. So if you don't know this, you may think, my child is a demon. I was not like this when I was a child. My child is screaming and cursing and drinking, drinking alcohol or whatever. My child is a demon. So it's like King, what was his name? This child of Prithu Maharaj, I think. Vena, King Vena. So my child is like King Vena. I am a devotee, but my child is a demon. So maybe I should kill my child or something. No. So if we know certain things, then only after 2 wives left me, I found out that I should not give advice to my wife. She doesn't want advice, she just wants to express her feelings and to be listened to. And I discovered this secret too late. But actually, my wives were not upset because of that. It's just because of lack of time, lack of affection or whatever. Always busy, too much, too busy. So when you know certain things about human psychology, male psychology, female psychology, then you can adjust your behavior. But if you don't know, you may think that this person is bad. Actually, they are not bad. They just have a need. They have a certain need, and you need to fulfill it. This is your duty to fulfill that need in one way or the other. Understand, this is part of the conditioning. You have this need, and like you have to feed someone, they need to eat. So also on the emotional level, one has to know how to behave. But we don't know these things. Then we go to some Christian course or some mundane course, and we learn certain things which people know outside. We don't know them because we are completely transcendental and also in tamoguna. So I called this so-called goodness tamo goodness. We think we are in goodness, but actually we are in ignorance. So there is so much to learn about how to be a better devotee, how to be a better husband, how to be a better wife. And I always say that love should be stronger than conflict. When love is stronger than conflict, then there is no separation. Be ready for anything and never give up. So once a husband came to his wife and told her how hard was his day. He had problems with the boss, he has a problem with the colleague, but she wanted to tell him about her day, and she was so upset that she just came in and started to talk. And when he finished, he said, I had a hard day. And she said, well, it's not over. Now it will get even harder because I'm upset with you. It's not over. So I was suffering some time ago because of attachment, and I was thinking that I should actually become like a soldier because life is so hard. And which soldiers have the hardest training? U.S. Marines, or not only U.S. Marines, you have in France also this legion, foreign legion, and you have, Taliban, everybody has heavy training. So, this, but okay, you can find on YouTube how they get trained. They have this Hell Week. This is who survives Hell Week, they can qualify for further torture. So basically, all this training is torture, non-stop, and you have to survive mentally and emotionally and physically. You have to survive all this torture, not get sick, not get mentally crazy. And out of 83 boys who started this training, 17 survived and 17 passed this training. So I looked at their website after I watched one documentary about their training, and I wanted to see if I can go to this training now, but it says between 18 and 29 years old, so I'm a little late. Between 18 and 29 years old they receive candidates, and then I didn't have time now to go through all these rules and everything and all these videos, but at the bottom of the website it says something that really hit me, and I feel sometimes life is like this. It says, the only easy day was yesterday. And yesterday was hell. Yesterday I barely survived, and then they say, well, more is coming. More is coming. So the only easy day was yesterday. So similarly, sometimes I think in family life also, the only easy day was yesterday. Yesterday my wife got on my case. Or my husband got on my case, if you are a wife. Then yesterday my child got really mad and crazy, or they got bad marks from the school, or they got bullied in the school. Then yesterday my child told me, I hate you. You're the person I hate the most in my life. And it hurt me so much because I'm sacrificing my life for this rascal, and he or she she tells me he or she tells me I hate you. And I say, thank you. I was waiting for this for the last 10 years. Now you're 10 years old and you hate me. So thank you very much for all my washing of your stool and everything. So it hurts so much. So you have to survive this. And don't worry, more is coming. The next news is my child is 13 years old and she is already taking drugs. Why? Because her peers are doing it. Now they start early, with 10 years old, 12 years old. They don't wait until they are 15. They start with drugs when they are 12 years old or 10 years old. And now you scratch your head, how to be a successful parent. So, more is coming. And you are saying, Krishna, when is the end of all this torture? Krishna, when will be the end of all this torture? And Krishna says, well, it's not that life is hard, but you are hard. That's why I am giving you all this training. Because you are so hard. You are so attached to sense gratification. You are so puffed up. You are so proud that I have to train you in this severe way. And I have to test you like anything. And you say, okay, please, but do you think I can survive this? I mean, this is too hard. I'm just screaming. I'm weeping on the floor. I want to suffocate. I will suffocate. I will faint. It's too much. And he said, well, I will never give you more than you can take. Really? But I'm already at the edge. You have that experience, I know. So what to do at that time? Take a deep breath. Hare Krishna. The only solace, the only shelter is the holy name. So Srila Prabhupada said, at the end of Markine Bhagavad Dharma, the song he wrote when he came to America, he says, I have no devotion, I have no knowledge, but I have a strong faith in the holy name. I have a strong faith in holy. So the holy name is the only shelter. When we are at the edge or at the end of how much we can take, how much we can tolerate. So remember the motto of Navy SEALs, of US Marines or Foreign Legion, the only easy day was yesterday. So more is coming. Why? Because what we are striving for is the highest. Who is ready to pay the price? Is the highest, is the most difficult thing. The highest, the greatest, the best is the most difficult to attain. So we have to pay the price by sacrificing our false ego. So how to do this? You do it with the guidance of saintly personalities like Kumaras, and Prithu Maharaj knows the preciousness of their association, and he knows only they can heal me. I am sick. I am ill. Only they can heal me. Only they can operate my heart, which is full of impurities. So therefore, I'm a little bit afraid of them, but I know they will help me. Like you hate the doctor who cut you, but he's saving your life. Sometimes they have to do it without anesthetic. So he's saving your life. And you may curse him, but he's saving your life. Why are you cutting? It hurts too much. He says, yes, but it will kill you if I don't cut it. So therefore it is said, the word sadhu means to cut. And sometimes sharp words of a sadhu save us from our material attachments. They cut our material attachments. And there is, in database, I found one text. I think it's maybe history of Jagannath Das Babaji or Gorkishore Das Babaji, like his life. And it says, when a saintly person, when a Grihamedi comes to hear from a saintly person, he is coming from his family, and his family is insulting him every day, and he faithfully serves them, continues to serve them. And when he comes to hear a sadhu says a couple of sharp words, and he runs away and thinks this sadhu is rude. this sadhu is rude. He runs away from the sadhu and doesn't want to hear from him because he thinks he is not spiritual, because he is not gentle. And he is insulting me. He says, I am dog, cat, camel, and ass. Or a pig. How can you say something like this? How can you offend people? You're supposed to be sadhu. You're supposed to be gentle. But sometimes without sharp words, we cannot cut off the attachment because we are attached like this. We are holding on to Maya like this and saying, Maya, let me go, let me go. But we are not letting go. So sometimes the sadhu says something which is very piercing and very hard to swallow, and we run away. And we go back to our family to serve them, and they insult us every day. Whether husband or wife, both get whatever, portion is there. So if we understand it's not an accident that we have difficulties, it's for our purification, and we should take it with actually welcoming attitude, that it's hard, therapy is hard, but I have to take it to get cured, then it will be easier and we can benefit from this. But we always resist it and we think, why me? Why such a nice guy like me has to go through this nonsense? Then we will not benefit from these difficulties. Maybe you're a nice guy now, but you were not a nice guy before. You were doing so many sinful activities, and if Yamaraj would show you the video recording of your sins, you would see that you are getting less reactions than you deserve. And Bhagavatam says this. Tatenu kampam susamikshamana. But we don't believe this. I mean, who believes in 10:14:8, Srimad Bhagavatam Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, chapter 14, text 8, Tatenu kampam susamikshamana, bunjaneva atma kritam vipakam, yadvagva pubir vidadan namaste, and sadaya bhak. It explains that the devotee knows that he gets less karma. Karma ni nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajan.
That's 10:14 and
10:14:8. Also, it's quoted in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, texts 13 and 14, double verse. In the purport, Prabhupada quotes that verse and gives also reference to the number of the verse. You know what Srila Prabhupada said about this verse? He said this, in the Nectar of Devotion, he says this verse should be the guide of all devotees. But who is reading this verse? Who is discussing this verse? I have compiled a whole word file with everything Prabhupada said about this verse in his teachings. It's so important. So when you read it, you can see that we are getting a small fraction of what we deserve. Small fraction. I will tell you now what he said. He said that if you come to a judge and you need to pay a fine of, I think, $1 million, a fine of $1 million, and he says, pay few cents. This is what he said. The judge says, okay, you're humble, pay few cents. So you have to pay $1 million and you pay only few cents. So this is the ratio between what we deserve and what we are supposed to get. And we are complaining about this reactions to our karma, but actually what we deserve is this. So then, how should we feel about what we get? We'll be grateful. Lord, I'm still in one piece. I mean, you didn't cut my legs. You didn't cut my tongue. I was offending people so much in previous life, even in this life. I was offending people with my tongue, and my tongue is still there. I can chant the holy name. So this kind of humility and understanding is needed to be able to receive the mercy. And the Tatenu kampam susamiksha mano, it says, he is always expecting Lord mercy. But how can you expect Lord mercy if you are not humble? You will not get it. If you are proud and you expect Lord mercy, you become angry why God is not giving such a nice guy mercy. No, only if one is humble, he can receive mercy. Everybody wants mercy, but nobody wants to qualify to receive mercy. And qualification for receiving mercy is humility. Understanding. How kind is the Lord? So, great lessons here. It has 63 verses. The whole chapter, if we study it, we can gain so much. Purports are long. There is long purports. Prabhupada gave it so much significance to this chapter. When saintly persons meet a king who is supposed to be shilling and pence man, money man, somebody who is materialistic. And Prithu Maharaj, although he's an incarnation of God, he's playing this role and he's showing us how to approach a sadhu. So thank you very much for listening. Do you have any questions? Yeah?
Yeah, I have a question. I feel that if we get this little bit this taste for Krishna consciousness and enjoying this lectures and listening from Krishna, then we don't not so much attached to sense gratification anymore, because they have this higher taste. No?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is actually the idea to more be engaged in the devotional service, and so we can more easily give up all these lower things.
Yeah.
But if we are not so much, like we don't listen so much, then sometimes we get attachment to this sense gratification. We need some happiness. And this is often some little happiness is there, so we try to get that. But sometimes we think, oh no, we should not do that. No? So then we reject it, and then after some time it becomes a little bit like a burden, and then we overdo it. We try. I know this for myself. I fasting and this and that, and then suddenly I over it. That becomes like this thing.
Bhoga Tyaga.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes so difficult to be regulated. And I don't know what kind of regulations. There are so many standards, and what standard is right for me. And I think this is only because I don't have enough taste for the chanting the holy name, because then I get so much entangled in these material things, and then all these rajas and tamas coming. So you talked about this problem. Can you give me some help? How can should I live in a holy place and just do more service, so that I can be more having this higher taste, or try to be more regulated? But what regulation is there? Like in the temple is different, but I'm not doing so much.
You're asking me a question, but actually you have added so much value to my class, because I was speaking about tolerating, but I didn't give a positive alternative. So you gave it now, and I'm grateful to you for this. Yes, actually, Grihastha also should develop a higher taste, not only develop tolerance or patience. So they should consciously work to develop higher taste, and then they will also enjoy and be happy. Now, to me, I don't know, there is different ways to develop a higher taste, different aspects of devotional service, but to me, preaching is the highest happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So one who preaches, he can feel closer to God, and everybody knows when you distribute books, you can very quickly feel the presence of the Lord, or when you preach to someone and you inspire someone in Krishna consciousness. So if we have some experience in Krishna consciousness, we actually can support others by developing a trusting relationship with them, close personal relationship, supporting them, being always there for them, become maybe a mentor or a coach, or just become a friend, but a deep friend, not just some superficial friendship, Haribol, but somebody who is ready to listen, who is always there to help, who is very much concerned about the person, and have 6 loving exchanges. Also, when devotees have more of 6 loving exchanges, then they can also experience a lot of taste. Dadati pratigrinati, guya makati prichati, bhunkte bhujayate chaiva shadvida priti lakshanam. Giving gifts, receiving gifts, giving prasadam, receiving prasadam, and confidential conversations. And I think you were not there last week. We spoke about guyam akyati prichati, about confidential conversations. I mean, it's all on Facebook. And one thing that is missing in devotee association, and which also brings higher taste, is deep conversations, confidential conversations. And for this, one needs courage to speak like this about himself and listen from others and keep confidence. And then more kirtan, more reading of the scriptures, more discussing the scriptures. In these confidential conversations, we can actually discuss how to apply this, how this verse and purport is relevant to me, to you. You know, let's see, what we are doing in the evening. Yesterday, we are having mutual assistance or coaching by using, maybe tonight we will do one verse, and then we discuss how can I apply it next week, and then I report to you. So this is also, this is also very powerful, and it puts devotees in a transcendental position. When they have a very strong spiritual association, they consciously work on their improvement. And there is many ways. I mean, you have to see what inspires you the most. Maybe you're inspired by kirtan, by dancing, by whatever. You can increase that, but helping others in their Krishna consciousness, preaching, inspiring people, this immediately brings mercy. Immediately. You know that. I know you know that. But we just have to do it more. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes?
You were talking that maybe in some situations the other person to whom we talk is like teaching the words of God. Can we also say it like it's always like that? Is it?
No. But yeah, they can be envious, but sometimes because there is nobody around who is not envious, Krishna is using the envious person to tell us something. So this also may be a case. Is it always words of God? It's not always that words of God are soft. That's one thing. But sometimes, I mean, if somebody tells you in a very sweet voice, please take this beer, you may think, wow, this is so sweet. Maybe God wants to tell me in a sweet way to take a little beer, because before I was into beer, and I miss beer, I haven't taken it for 10 years, so little beer, it doesn't hurt. So maybe God is merciful and He wants to give me, in a sweet way, a little beer. But actually that's Maya. So we have to discriminate. How do we know what is Krishna conscious? Shastra, sadhu, guru, sadhu, shastra, guru vakya, chitete korya aikya. Always have a compass, always have a point of reference, always have a standard, always have some, like parameters, and know what is right and what is wrong. Devotees ask me, how can I hear the super soul? You cannot hear the super soul because there is mind in between. So how can I know what the super soul wants to tell me? He wrote it here because he knows you cannot hear him. So it's all here what the super soul wants to tell you. So read it or listen to the class. But it's a very, very, very important point that you are bringing up, how to actually hear messages of God, how to recognize them, how to recognize the messages of God. We can discuss this maybe tomorrow. I don't know if I'm giving class tomorrow, or tonight. We can discuss how to recognize the messages of God. This is also a very good topic for success partnership. Two devotees discuss, how can I recognize messages of God? Is this a message of God, or is it Maya trying to allure me? Very good point. Yeah, very, very important. I want to research in the Vedabase what Prabhupada said about it. How to know. But Prabhupada had so much faith in the Gita. He said everything is there. If you don't know how to recognize the message of God, look at the Bhagavad Gita. It's all there. There is no mistake. You don't have to look in between. Is there any other message in between? Because they are all in these lines. You don't have to look in between. And if you're not sure what the verse is saying, Prabhupada is explaining in the purports. So, okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you everybody who was listening on the internet. Hare Krishna.